I'm back. I was gonna do some writing, but I said I would play some more Resident Evil 4 first before I did that. But considering how late it is due to Toryu taking up so much of my time playing goddamn Genshin. And speaking of wasted time, me being a professional doesn't have anything to do with it. I've just been really slow this time, and not to mention I clipped. I do have Resident out of the main drive. Ultimately, I will still probably most likely get the S rank, and I don't need the S rank. I just need an A rank. At least I believe I just need an A rank. Yeah, which is 7 hours and stuff. Man, anyway, I wanted to finish the castle because I was supposed to finish the castle by now, and then tomorrow was going to be the last day of Resident Evil for me. What the fuck is that supposed to be Leon there in the loading screen? Why does he look so fucking fat?
Hello, my lovely, Plagas-infested Head Solution friends. Today I'm bringing you my review of the Resident Evil 4 remake. The original Resident Evil 4, I cannot even describe how much I love it. It's one of my all-time favorite games. The thing is, when I heard that they were redoing all the voices, all the performances and everything, it made me feel very iffy about the remake. But that was one of my absolute favorite things about that game, was those specific performances, those specific lines, the specific writing, you know? But my worries did not ultimately keep me away from this game, because this game is a modern Resident Evil game, and modern Resident Evil games are, let's just say they got track. So now that I've played the remake, does it live up to its very, very impressive legacy and my very high standards? Well, that's what we're going to find out today. Let's go.
Jack, I'm no but is still there, my guy. What are you talking about? You don't run away from it anymore, but
It looked so unbelievably good for its time. It was very clear this was a very, very talented team. Just like the environmental design, the texture work in particular, it was unreal. Like, it set a graphical standard that the series is still very much living up to today. It's almost exhausting.
oh, why am I not connected to 5?
Much living up to today. It's almost exhausting talking about how Resident Evil games look, because it's so consistent. It's always the same story, you know? Like, this is a AAA experience through and through. The environments, it's always the environments in particular. They're just exquisite. Every inch of the game is so richly detailed, and like every corner of every room tells a story, you know? It's so real and lived in, but lived in by monster people, you know? Like, just everything you see supports the events that happened prior to you getting there. It's sort of off topic, but the game gives you a lot more lore. Like, just little, I mean, like, there was lore and, like, documents in the first game, but I feel like these are a lot more detailed. They go into a lot more, like, specific detail about, like, the events that happened, and it even gives you, like, kind of like more details about some of the bosses and where they came from, and like I just think that's incredibly cool. That really adds to the experience. But yeah, the environments, I mean, they're just incredible. The lighting is incredibly great. As always, as with any Resident Evil game, it is just a joy to behold.
How
It is a
clunky the
sumptuous
insta-kill
feast
button
of
sometimes
visuals.
are.
I
Is
will
that a
say,
guaranteed
this
flash
might just
grenade?
be me.
There's
I
no
haven't
way I
seen
got
that anyone else say this, but
lucky
like,
enough.
is the game
Yeah.
really dark to anyone else? Just kind of like hard to see. Like it just takes me like extra brain power to try to see what's going on. I had to crank like the HDR, the brightness settings, all the way
Also,
up.
I am
I've
spending
never
way
had
more
to do
time
that
in
with
the
any other
menus
game,
than I
just
really
maximum,
should be.
and that makes it like pretty okay to see. Very weird. Not sure what's up with that, but it looks great. And then of course, all like the enemy designs and everything, animations, it all looks really great too. I'd say there's one like new thing that kind of makes this, that kind of sets this apart from other Resident Evil games that I've played, and it's the chunky bits. It's the damage that is done to enemies. Resident Evil's always really had great animations and damage animations and all that stuff. This game takes it to another level. Like the damage that you do,
Yep.
especially when you're like
They
blowing
don't
someone
blow
away
up.
with your shotgun.
It means
The
they're
way
planning on
I hope you
respawning.
sent the kids to bed. The way the chunks fly off them, like the flesh is so much more detailed, so much more realistically animated, and it's quite satisfying. Let's just say that. And again, like all Resident Evil games, the sound design is also amazing. And like, I don't know, they've really zeroed in on something even better than usual with this one. Just, yeah, the audio-visual feedback of like shooting bad guys, especially when you snipe a guy in the head and it pops their head. Just that kerpow, the feeling of it is just like the sound. Oh, it's incredible. So then, like, realism and feedback and all that stuff, the raw fidelity, that's not the only impressive thing about the visuals. It's also just, like, how faithful it is. This game is so faithful to the original. Like, all of the game's most iconic set pieces have been, like, perfectly preserved. And seeing them rendered so modernly with such detail, I mean, it's just a joy. It's surreal. It's really surreal running around just being like, oh my gosh, I'm playing Resident Evil 4, but what happened to it? Why does it look so good? Like the opening village area with the big chase, like, it's very, very classic. And it's, like, totally redone, but just exactly the way you picture it in your head, Like, some places look very, very much like the original, but then other places have been given just kind of like a new, kind of going a new direction, but it's always a good direction. It's always just more cool and moody, and the use of lighting and color, it's uplifting everything exactly where it needs to be lifted up, and it is true to the original where it needs to be true to the original. There's always just new little details to enjoy, and they're always amazing. And then, of course, when talking about redoing original such and such, we gotta talk about the characters, and like I said, I was scared of this. I was really scared. I played Resident Evil 2. I haven't played 3 yet. I was not like a super big fan of the characterization in that. A little bit too serious, just not what I fell in love with Resident Evil. And I'm like, how can I possibly enjoy this as much as the original if all the characters have been redone? Like, I just was so against that idea. And the thing is, the original is a lot cheesier. It's a lot cartoonier, Those characters, they're larger than life. And I love that. This is a lot more realistic. It's a lot more serious. And that sounds like a deal breaker. That sounds like it's exactly what I didn't want. But, like, the thing is, it works. I don't know how they did it, but it really, really works. Like, this Leon is remake Leon, the one from 2. I was not a fan of him at all in 2. I thought, like, okay, I heard people say that, oh, the bingo line is still there. Some of the one-liners are still there. But, like, hearing them come out of this Leon, how can that be good? How can that be any fun? I didn't think they would have the same impact coming from him. And while it is true that he's not as silly, he's not quite as snarky, yeah, it somehow just works. Like, he's way snarkier than he was in 2. He's a lot more similar to original Resident Evil 4 Leon, which is good. And you know what? He does some of the old one-liners, and he's got a lot of new one-liners, too. Some of his interactions with, the villains are very funny. He's got this no-nonsense attitude. Pleasantly surprised in this department. Ashley has probably changed the most. The original, way more of a character.
Oh,
way just, like, spunkier, cartoonier. Again, larger than life. A little bit cheesier, and it was really fun. This one, really realistic. Like, she's acted with utmost realism. Like, this is a movie. And again, seems like a bad thing. But the thing is, she's so well acted that the character works on a whole new level. She just feels so real, so like genuine, you know? And unlike the original, I actually empathize with her more. And like her relationship with Leon feels more impactful. I never had any like emotional connection with the characters in the original. I liked watching them, but like I didn't really like feel for them. I feel for them now. I value like what they both bring, you know? They're less like characters and more like humans. And this has helped so much by just like so many new little details in like animations and lines that they get. Like both of them.
Jumping across chandeliers, seriously, who does that?
They give these little one-liners, these little lines just reacting to the situation around them. It feels so organic, you know, like Leon gets out of a tough fight, you know, he'll like wipe his brow, he'll adjust his shoulder, Ashley will ask him if he's okay, and like even during fights, like him and her, they'll give little bits of commentary, you know, like you'll like use your rifle to snipe a zombie's head off, and she'll be like, oh my gosh, like she'll have this like verbal reaction to it, or like if you're aiming for a pendant, or you know, you get a guy with a good headshot, she'll like pump her fist a little bit. Like it's just
Nice.
it's so endearing.
It actually
We did a
blew
shooting
correctly.
gallery, and she gets
Very
like
lucky.
super excited. Like whenever you do really well, she's like commentating the whole time. Just so many little things that it's great. It has such a huge impact on the enjoyability that I just did not expect at all. It's not the same as the original, but it's not worse. It's just good in a new way. And other characters, same thing. You know, like new Luis, he's probably the most like accurate to the original. But like, you know, the better graphics and everything, he's so expressive, and like they just gave us more of it, which is great. Like obviously in the original, he'd pop in, do a little thing, have a little cutscene, and then he'd leave, and it was always really frustrating when he left. But this one gives you so much more Luis, and I appreciate that so much. Again, I connect with him more, you know? And I won't talk about all the characters and the villains as much as I would love to just gush about every single one, but I'll say the same thing. Like, the villains especially, they're just kind of, they're less cartoony. They're more realistic. They feel less like these archetypes, these cartoony tropes, and while that's great in the original, they feel more like people. And that gives them a lot more of just like a sinister air, you know, which again I appreciate in its own unique way. And the best part about this is great, you get to have your cake and eat it too. Even though this is more realistic and it takes itself more seriously, there's still plenty of that Resident Evil cheesiness. You need the Resident Evil cheesiness, you know, especially in the dialogue.
Nice.
Some of the lines
Again.
are just so silly, and it's just great. Again, I have my cake and eat it too. It's perfect. And like I said, there's new cheesy lines here, because this game just has a lot more dialogue in general. So there's like new things that I get to quote now on top of the originals. It's great. So let's get to gameplay. The controls are obviously very different here. That's really all I mostly wanted in a remake. I just wanted it to look better, and you know, more modern visuals and more modern controls. You know, the original famously limited. You can't move and shoot at the same time. That's not how shooters tend to do it these days. This actually, like, it kind of swings hard in the other direction. It gives you a lot of movement. It feels a lot like 6, where, like, the character, like, full character movement, you know, even if the camera is locked in place, the character will spin every which way, and I didn't like it in 6, and it took me a while to get used to here. But it clicked, and I really, really enjoy it. One of my big problems with 2 was that there's just not a lot of options to evade. I need to be able to evade. In real life, if a zombie is coming at you and it's about to hit you, you can take a step back, not just like inch backwards slowly, you know what I mean? So now you can kind of just sprint at any time and duck and kind of just move out of the way. It feels very natural. It feels good. You're a lot more empowered to get out of the way of enemy attacks. Then another big change, which was obviously going to happen, you can change weapons on the fly. You don't have to go into the menu to equip them each time. Very, very archaic. So yeah, this is much better. Surprisingly though, you still heal in the menu. I did not expect that. I don't know why. They just wanted to give you the ability to heal whenever. You just can pause and heal and then go back. Not sure why they did it that way. Kind of surprising, but I don't know. It's fine fine. And then like just the raw gameplay, just the running and fighting and stuff. It is terrific. You know, like it works with the foundation of the original. Absolutely. Like the ideas are all the same. You know, the melee system of stunning a guy and running up and kicking him. And now it's even got added stuff. With your knife, you can do these knife attacks rather than just swinging it wildly. You get to like snap on the neck and stuff. And like enemy AI and animations are even the same, which is awesome. Like you can really, if you played the original a lot, you can just slip right into it. You know, they reel back in a certain way, and I find myself like my muscle memory is engaging, and like, oh, but its head's gonna be right here, and like it all works so perfectly. Like there's a lot of new stuff, but then like just enough of the old stuff that it still feels so familiar. And the original was so much fun. And this is just taking it to such a new level. More so than any of the other third-person Resident Evil games I've played. This really nails it. It takes that foundation, makes it just even stronger. Really big change, though. Real big change. Your knife breaks? What? You know, you go into the game feeling so confident. I've played the original 100,000 million times. I know what I'm doing. I pop a guy in the head, I kick him down, and I knife him until he dies. I cheese the whole entire game that way. No, you get here, your knife breaks, and it's like, oh no! Help! Get me out of here! I can't do this!
Yes,
no, it's great. I mean, it's
Leon.
like the training wheels are off. You know, it's good to not be able to cheese it that way. It's a lot more just like a fair level of challenge. So I really appreciate that. And that opens up all of those other knife options. You know, you can parry attacks. I'm really bad at doing it, but you can. And that's cool. You can get out of struggles by using your knife. And that just gives you another thing to, like, upgrade and stuff. So I'm totally cool with that. Speaking of which, buying weapons, upgrading, all that stuff, it's all back with plenty of little changes. Just lots of little changes to the whole thing, and they're all good. I love all of them. You can craft ammo and stuff now, which is just phenomenal. I know with a lot of games, it feels tacked on, but every time they do it in Resident Evil, like, it works perfectly. It's the survival horror, it's the ammo conservation. It feeds into that so well. And of course, it lets you kind of tailor the experience a little bit more to your liking. You know, what weapons you use, it's not just based on what the game wants to give you. It's just like, well, I really like TMP, so I'm just going to spend most of my resources on crafting TMP ammo. There you go. I can do that. Another aside, though, speaking of like ammo and spawn rates and stuff, I will say like Resident Evil, one of the reasons they're so good is because they kind of adapt. It's like this adaptive difficulty thing. The game can tell if you've used all your ammo, so it might give you a little bit more. It knows how to keep you at a certain comfortable ammo amount, you know, so like it always feels like you're just barely getting by. And I really like that, but I will say this game, just because of the nature of the game, you're moving forward a lot more. Sometimes you're killing a lot more enemies, so it becomes a little bit more visible when the game does it, you know? Like, I'll enter an area with, like, 30 enemies, and I'm like, oh no, I've only got, like, a little bit of handgun ammo, and then I'll only use my handgun and get out of it with twice as much ammo as I started with, because I can see that the game is spawning it for me because I'm getting low on it. So, like, it's a little bit immersion breaking, just a little bit of, like, okay, it's a lot more visible. It's supposed to be this invisible background thing the game is doing. It's more visible this time, which is a little bit of a shame, but, you know, whatever. But yeah, there's lots of other changes to items and stuff. Too many to go over all of them. One really great change is treasures with open slots, like to put gems into. Now, with all of them, you can choose which gems to put in, and there's like square ones and round ones. And there's different colors, and you can choose which colors go in, and you get different like cell value multipliers based on what colors you use. There's a little guide you can use. So that's a ton of fun, just a lot more fun customization. And then spindles used to just be a simple treasure, but now it's like a special currency that you can trade for like a specific menu of special stuff. Again, just another thing to do and enjoy. Awesome. In the original, there were a couple areas where you could shoot like all the blue medallions and like get stuff, but now they took that to another level. The merchant has all sorts of different requests that you can fill, and it's like, kill all the rats in this area, or lots of different medallion ones, just, or like, go back to this area and you'll find a super extra special hard enemy, and that's great because it's rewards, but it's also terrifying. Just absolutely terrifying doing these. Loads of fun. Then another thing, in the shooting gallery, you can win coins, and you can use them in this little gacha machine, and you can, like, win charms, which you put on your attaché case, and they'll give you, like, little static bonuses. And that's a really, really cool idea, but I will say it's very, like, it's really hard to do the shooting gallery. I don't have the patience for it. And so, like, it really stinks to work really, really super hard to get 3 gold coins and use gold instead of silver so you can roll. You have a higher chance of getting a really rare charm, and then you don't save because you forgot, and then you get a garbage common, and you're like, what was the point of any of that? So that's a little bit frustrating. I want more charms, but I don't want to do more shooting gallery. It's a whole thing. I know I can spend spinels on gold coins, but I don't want to use them all. Whatever, that's a whole thing. So it's neat that you can have, you can get a couple different attaché cases, and like they'll give you different perks, and the charms will give you perks, and that's cool. Otherwise, the attaché case is pretty much the same, except in the original, you spend a lot of time managing your items, like just moving them around, combining them, just trying to make room. You're like, I need to put this big giant fish in my case, I gotta make room. It was fun. Now you can just click a button and it auto sorts. I do miss those days to a degree, but this is objectively better. I must admit. Yeah, this is just a lot better. It's a lot less wasted time. And of course, I can't forget about the merchant himself. Speaking of characters, the guy doing the voice acting, he had big shoes to fill. The merchant is the Resident Evil 4 character. We're still quoting him to this day. And you know what? He does a good job. Couple things. He sounds a little bit young, and when he says stranger instead of stranger, it's weird, makes me cringe a little bit. Overall, though, he did a really good job, and the merchant has a lot more to say this time, and there's a lot of funny lines, and it's good. And he shows up a lot more often, which definitely hurts some of the tension in the game. You think you're down somewhere deep and scary, and you turn a corner, and it's like, oh, look, the merchant. So yeah, it kind of breaks some of the tension, but it's also very, very convenient. There's always a merchant when you need one. It doesn't make you ever go too long without having access to one. So that's good. It's also very funny. It's just very funny the way that he pops up sometimes. Oh, and speaking of convenience, you can now store weapons at typewriters. You can't store everything. You can't store ammo and stuff, which I get. It's frustrating sometimes when it's a kind of ammo that you're not even using that gun, but you don't want to get rid of it. You don't want to sell it, but you can't store it, so you don't just stockpile. They want to limit you. It's just for weapons and attachments, so I get that. But that's great. And even on the field, you can just send a weapon to your box.
Oops.
If you're just like an emergency, you're like, I need to pick this stuff up, and you can just send a thing. Very convenient. Love that. It lets you have somewhat of a rotating arsenal of weapons without having to sell and rebuy, or just be like, sell and say goodbye forever. Very nice. So now that leaves us with the structure and the design of the world itself, and all of the unique challenges and monsters and all that. And despite the fact that I have had lots and lots of glowing things to say about the presentation and the gameplay and the characters and all that, I would say that here is where the game truly shines as a remake. Many sequences have been faithfully recreated, like just about to a T, and then many of them have been, slightly tweaked. Usually tweaked just for the better, like the original game had some kind of annoying bits that were like, they stopped being tense and started just being stressful. A lot of those have been smoothed over. Some sequences have been removed, which is definitely a little bit disappointing sometimes, but then other brand new sequences have been added, and it really feels like every change has been made with such purpose, like the game's pacing is so consistent now. Everything has been done to just make it more interesting and fun. I don't want to say streamlined, because that makes it sound more simple. It's not. It's just kind of better. It's just better paced. So often sequences will be expanded, or like they're, you know, between two familiar sequences, they'll put like another little transition thing leading to it. It's great. And one particular highlight is after you beat Del Lago and you open up the ability to drive a boat around the lake, this sequence has been expanded drastically. You can go around to all these different places, and you know, you can hit up old areas to get treasures and stuff that you missed. For just a little chunk of the game, you've got some open-ended exploration. And like, there are definitely other parts of the game where you kind of hang around a central area that you can kind of return to a little bit, especially in the castle. That's probably the other like main central hub area that you use. But I would have loved to see this idea explored even more. I would have loved to see more shortcuts opened up to older areas, you know, because like for the most part it's usually pretty easy to track down all the treasures, but there are a few random little roadblocks and one-way doors that prevent you from getting treasures, and like you're just like, why though? In all these other areas you're making it easy to go back, but just every once in a while you get those little roadblocks that feel just kind of unnecessary and frustrating. But yeah, overall the game's design is terrific. And like there are a couple enemies that were changed in a way that I'm like a little bit iffy on, just a little bit. And one of the scariest bosses of the original has just been removed. I don't know why. It's kind of an infamous boss. It was definitely a very stressful encounter, but I feel like they could have adapted it, because some of these enemies, some of these bosses are like totally different, and it's always like for the better too, you know, like oh my gosh, some of them have been improved so much. They're so much more fun. One in particular is just like, it is so good. So I feel like they could have adapted instead of removing that one. I don't know, maybe it'll be in DLC or something. But yeah, like it's really just about everything has just been improved. You know, just boss fights. They're more interesting. They're less fiddly. They're less frustrating. They're just more fun. And they're designed to be so tense. These unbelievably intense encounters that just make you feel so amazingly cool when you get out of them alive, you know? And I know that's what Resident Evil is, but like actually seeing how these old designs have been updated, like versus, you know, fighting something that's completely new, it really lets you see the design process in action, and like how Capcom has zeroed in on what makes a boss fight good. It's truly remarkable to see. And then even with non-boss enemies, there are all these little changes. Some enemies have been expanded, given new abilities, which just add to the depth of the experience. But they have changed it quite a bit. Now you do not manage your health, which is kind of nice. You don't have to worry about using up yellow herbs to try to get her health up. Instead of her health going down, if she takes damage, she kind of falls down and becomes incapacitated, and you have to run up and give R1 or whatever to help her out. Which is, it can make you feel a little bit vulnerable, and there were a couple times where I was getting a little bit frustrated with it, because the amount of time it takes to pull her up, and then you just get hit again. So it's a little iffy on that, but now it's a lot simpler to command her. You know, you used to have like, wait, follow me. You know, you make her stop or make her follow you. But now it's like tight formation, loose formation. You know, make her run right along beside you, or behind you, or just kind of like spread out, stand in danger. It's kind of different. I don't even necessarily know if I really prefer one way or the other. It kind of just still works. I think if there was more of the game where you had her and you were getting these really dangerous fights, then it might start to get frustrating. But it feels like you have her lessons in it. Something to do with like the pacing of the game. She spends more time separated from Leon. I think could be wrong on that, but never really gets in the way. You know, there are times when she's with you, and it's a little bit more tense. You gotta try to help her, and there are plenty of times when she's not. So, yeah, I don't know. There's changes, but it just still kind of works, doesn't it? Then it's funny because similarly, this game is the original was the game that really, I don't want to say invented, but kind of invented QuickTime events. And then again, everybody else did it, and yet like it was never as good when they did it. I really got pretty tired of them. I've never like really hated QuickTime events. I thought the ones in the original were fine, especially the Wii edition because they're just really easy. It's funny, they're all gone here. Like they made an active choice to just not have any. Yeah, it's funny. I'm fine with them. Just a couple, especially like during a cutscene. You know, we gotta cut the rope or whatever. Just action it. I don't know. That's a little bit of interactivity with some of the cutscenes. But not having them is definitely something you have to go for. It lets you just kind of like enjoy the characters you're fighting because you're not worrying about like the action coming up and you gotta get it right. So yeah, like I would have been fine if it was still there, but it's just kind of not up to try to put things like the closest you have to the attacks, you gotta like hit the crouch button to like dodge out of the way. I'm terrible at this. I'm so bad at it. I just can't see it coming fast enough. But I appreciate that it's built into one of your moves. It's not just hit these buttons because we're telling you that that's the only way to dodge this attack. It's more of a natural way that I can appreciate. And the final thing I want to mention, you know how like in a lot of games on that thing where you beat the last enemy and the game that like shows you definitively that you have beaten the last enemy. The character puts their gun away, the music changes or whatever. This is sometimes a little bit disappointing to me because it removes the tension. It lets you know that you're safe. It's kind of good because then you can just kind of explore an area and that's cool. But I also like the tension. I have no, at least to my knowledge, off the top of my head, I can't this way. Where if you're in a big area with a lot of enemies, they will basically spawn like in certain areas of this area. You beat a bunch of the enemies that came at you and you beat them all. You gotta walk a little further in order to spawn more. I know that itself is not a weird concept, but like the way it varies with the music. When you beat the last enemy and the music just stops dead silent. So there's this like, especially like after a really big encounter, there's this like, this like you breathe out and it feels really, really good. And the original was like that, but I feel like in the original, they'd all spawn at the same time and they'd all come at you, and when that music stopped, you knew that you were good. But now you have these bigger areas where you get that moment, you get that breather where you know, at least for the moment, at least right now, there's nothing coming after me. I can reload all my guns and pick up some stuff, but it doesn't remove the tension entirely because then if you move on a little bit, enemy spawn right there. So it's kind of like this back and forth, this give and take. And I feel like that is a perfect kind of marriage of these ideas, a perfect happy medium that I don't know, I've not quite seen it a lot in games. And it's really, really effective. So to wrap things up, the Resident Evil 4 remake is unbelievable. I am floored by it. There are so many questions to consider when remaking a game. It's such a complicated business, you know? Like, how much do you change? How much do you keep the same?
That's got a thing you can do.
When does it stop being a simple remake and start being a reimagining? Should it be a reimagining? Should you just do the graphics again? How faithful should you be? And it's different for every game. And like, no matter what you do, you're probably going to disappoint a good number of fans of the original. I expected to be more disappointed with this game. But Capcom has walked such an incredibly thin tightrope. Such a razor-thin line they have walked. This game is a faithful adaptation of the original, of the updated, modernized controls, quality of life, and all that. But it's also, in a sense, a reimagining that kind of expands things, it changes things. Like the whole thing is reimagined, but it considers and reimagines individual elements as needed. They have honed over the entire game to decide what individually. They've taken 1,000 different elements and maybe more than that, and just like look at each one. What should still be there? What should change? What should improve? What needs more? And it's so successfully keeps what is most important, but is not afraid to make changes that just make the game better. You know, like at times you're looking at a perfect recreation of the original, only with color graphics. And at other times you're looking at something so fresh and new and surprising and even playing with your expectations based on your knowledge of the original. It'll try to toy with you and play with you, which is another level of joy. It's a faithful remake and it's a rematch. It's both. I don't know how they did it, but it's both. It is clear. I guess I know how they did it. It's love. It's love. It's a great intuition of what makes a good game.
Holy shit, why am I struggling so much right now?
Finally understood the original and what people liked about it. And because they have walked that line and just
I need to start over again. God, why?
This is a perfect remake, but doesn't replace the original. Whenever you do a remake, a modernized remake, a reimagining or whatever, you run the risk of kind of replacing the original. But it just doesn't, despite being so much better in so many ways.
And I guess this is the difference between hardcore and professional.
It changes what needs to be changed, but it doesn't change so much that you just go, oh, you know, a bunch of people are just like, whatever, I'll just stick to the original, who cares? It's got all these things that are uniquely great, and it's so much easier to play for so many reasons, but I know that someday I will return to the original, and I'll miss the quality of life stuff and the fancy graphics, but then I can just go back to that one. It's funny, there are plenty of times in this game when I noticed they just took out little things, you know, especially like in cutscenes, little sequences, little things that just kind of took them out. Like, oh, you didn't do that thing, you didn't do that funny thing. And at first it was disappointing, but then I slowly realized the more I played the game, the more I came to understand the game. I realized that feels deliberate because they're like, we're not trying to just remake everything about the original. They're leaving a lot of that stuff with the original, because that fits in with that game's identity. It still leaves
I should just
so
save
much
more
to
often,
enjoy.
I
So that
guess.
if anyone does play this and they like it and they haven't played the original, there is every reason to go back to the original and enjoy that for what it is. Because these two games are each remarkable in their own ways. Resident Evil 4 is as close to a perfect remake as I might ever play. And being a remake that's that good of one of the funnest games of all time, then that just makes for another unbelievably fun game. One that, because of all the new game pluses and difficulty options and stuff, I am sure I will be playing for a long, long time, just like the original. So there you have it. Capcom has made an incredible modern version of Resident Evil 4. Capcom made an amazing, just incredible, can't put it down, modern Resident Evil game? I'm flabbergasted. I don't know what to say. I did not see this coming. I didn't plan for this.
can still go back there.
average air and ball speed, letting get from one place to another faster than the majority of the caps. Mobility or lack thereof is one of the most exploitable factors in the character. TK is fast on the ground, but one of the easiest characters to juggle. DVD's mobility stunts across the board, so you usually run circles around it and juggle. Cinero, fast faller but terrible grounded airs. Kiro, fast on the ground and fast falling speed but terrible airs. So anyone with a superior air can hover just outside of it. Even Cosmio suffers from this too, unless you master crouch dashing, your physics are terrible in both fields. Bowser, on the other hand, can travel basically half a stage with a full hop. Obviously, he can still get outcamped by Sonic or zoned out by Samus, but he doesn't struggle anywhere near as badly as other heavies, and once he gets in range, just by standing close to his opponent, he puts fear in them, which is the second aspect of his special game, options. Heavyweights have linear approach moves that make it very easy for them to get punished, since it takes a while for them to get to you, and their aerials are usually unsafe on shield. Bowser's aerials are unsafe, yes, but because they're flying slightly, you can't overly rely on shield. Jumping to contest him is also risky, since if it goes out forward or back here, even if it trades, you're going to be blown right off the screen, and while they're gimmicky and unreliable options, Bowser Bomb can instantly shields him, and Fire Breath at close range is unpunishable since the flames eat through the shield and push you away. It's difficult to play defensively against Bowser because he kind of gaslights you into questioning how safe your defensive options really are, so to win versus say you have to outmaneuver him, which is difficult to do given how your character's outrange and or outrun him, or you have to fight offense with people offense, which is also difficult. It's not for everyone attacking ends up you. You have to land 5 or 6 on him. He can make way more mistakes than you and still win. In fact, even though Bowser's disadvantage is among the worst in the game, he can still mess you up if you aren't perfect with your combos or conversions. For instance, if you try to catch his landing, you'll have to guess from 1 of 5 options, 3 of which can kill you if you guess wrong. Option 1, Bowser falls to the ground without doing anything. Option 2, Bowser fast fall your dodges to the ground. Option 3, Bowser does a landing aerial like neutral or fair. The former can transition into another aerial while the latter can strike below him. Option 4, Bowser Bomb. If you shield or toss out a move to catch option 1, 2, or 3, you're Option 5, Down It, a stall fall that can brutally punish anyone who pulls the trigger on their up tilt or up air half a second too early. The threat of straight up dying if you guess wrong, even while Bowser's at disadvantage, is what makes it so difficult to deal with. In addition to that, even if you guess right, you still have to guess right 8,000 more times during which, if any of those guesses are wrong, you can die, bringing me to the second biggest reason why he's so popular. Bowser is forgiving. He can get away with a lot of build 50-50s, while his opponents cannot. Regarding the jump in scenario, even if you guess wrong, the worst that can happen is that you get thrown back again. Very few characters can brutalize him as hard as he can them. Steve, Kazuya, Wario, anyone with the mash on you or has 0 to death combo. Everyone else, they have to beat you the old-fashioned way, but being the heaviest fighter in the game means you'll more likely than not survive up to 150% every time. With that in mind, Bowser can afford to be more reckless with his moves and YOLOs since he will live to try again. And with the kind of payoff your 50-50s have, like a random forward smash, rising back here, or Bowser Bomb, that's all it takes to win. Making Joshua because weight is naturally well, top and preventing him from staggering against unique attacks like damage based heavy armor, minus tilts, and smash attacks. It's also armor and more tangibility like Little Mac, as we also tested. But to repeat myself for the umpteenth time, let me get back. Bowser throwing at smash his opponent knows how to move as well. If that move doesn't deal more than 10% damage, then being one of the strongest full smashes in the game, you have to respect Bowser no matter what. The Smash Wiki's ending remarks illustrate Bowser's gameplay very nicely. He has among the most raw damage output, highest skill power, and best shield breaking capabilities of any player, while scoring really great meaning, once he gains the upper hand, it's practically impossible to break his pressure and he continuously reacts properly. Couldn't agree more with this statement. When Bowser goes into disadvantage, there's some reason that feels way scarier than any other heavyweight, and the class is known for terrifying their opponents through their raw force. Now, with all that said, this is why his presence begins to diminish considerably at top level, which is what initially had me guessing if I should make this a why no one or why everyone plays. On one hand, Bowser's extremely popular at low, mid, and part of high level. At top level, you don't see much of him apart from Leon, Kiro, and Dark Thunder, but it's kind of similar to what I said in my Why No One Plays Falco video. At top level play, not only are players better at mitigating their disadvantage, but they're also less affected by the fear factor due to having a better understanding of grab levels, ranges, and don't fall victim to matchup checks as often. On top of that, they maximize
almost got myself sold the Primal Knife. I hate how the Primal Knife is stuck in between the disposable knives you can get.
But against the top level player, that ratio falls to 3 to 1 or even lower. All the same, the fact that in spite of how proficient top players are at the game, Bowser can still get top 32, top 16, or even top 8 as super mages is a testament to the viability of the character. His strengths more than outweigh his weaknesses, hence why he's the most popular heavyweight in the game. Kazuya may have taken the crown as the best heavyweight, but he's the privilege of input attacks, auto turnaround, and all the other DLC stuff. So if you focus purely on traditional heavyweights, Bowser's overwhelming offensive pressure and ability to survive lots of punishment offer the best balance among the archetype. I feel like for every heavyweight, you can do everything right and still struggle because the character's flaws are too great to overcome. But I don't get the same feeling for Bowser. The current meta may be turning against him with his speed, Kazuya, Sonic, and Peaches, but he's been handling quite well, and this is his second official home rank. I think he's going to improve quite a bit in rankings. At the very least, he'll always be popular at mid and low high level. Anyways, that's what we have for today. share your thoughts on thoughts in the comments down below if you agree or disagree with my points. As always though, if you enjoyed the video, it would be great if you love the like and subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at Marcel to join my Discord server, and check out my other Why Everyone This videos if you have. Until next time, thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.
Oh fuck. I wanted to see how much time I had. Okay, there we go. Yeah, the only chapter I actually managed to complete at pretty much the exact same time as chapter 2. Everything else, well, chapter 5, I did spend 15 minutes in 4 and 5. Way slower. I'll make sure I only spend 10 minutes in this chapter though. And here's Ada showing up even though Ada is also in Ada. I can't go back anymore. But it seems I actually apparently got the emerald. I did. Weird. That part's always so tense. Maybe it's PTSD. I really don't like the laser sight. The laser sight removes the bloom, but I don't like the effect. A crosshair is just so much more natural, you know? I'll make more submachine. Nice. Nice. Yeah, damn, almost at the recommended 2 hours per village. Well, I don't care if I don't have any heavy or even normal grenades. Frag grenades or flash grenades are still very important. I have the rocket launcher, which is just the grenade. But like, better in every way. Except for maybe inventory. My dog better than you in every way. Fuck. Alright, yeah, at least in professional mode there's a save point here. It's actually really surprising that they add extra boons to you when you're in professional. Rather than just constantly adding to your pain. Or perhaps they knew they made things way too difficult. But rather than making things easier, they just decided to put in more things to make mistakes more forgiving.
Too bad. I have cleaned up the vast majority of the eggs that sprawled across my base. However, I can't help but feel that someone has taken some pity on me and tidied up a little of them, because I'm sure there was loads here and I don't remember doing those. But all there is left, by the looks of things, are this section here, and then it's cleaned. So phooey to you. Buckle up, Buttercups, because today I've got the other two Buttercups, Scar and Mumbo, and I've organised for us to meet up a little bit later to discuss when we're going to release the Buttercup. And of course I need to show them my Live Laugh Love. But we're going to head back briefly before they get online to go and do a quick amendment to the decked out room that I did last episode. Does this go all the way down? No, it doesn't. It does. Now, I said last episode that I wasn't particularly happy with it, and I've had a little think, and I know exactly what I'm going to do to try and improve it. I won't be able to replace probably the worst feature, which is the ceiling, because Tango's gone and built on top of it, and yeah, done some stuff here. But I can definitely go back and just edit, not this one. What it's suffering from is just lack of detailing and character, and I think it's predominantly down to the way that this wall is. So what I've got with me is a whole bunch of mossy cobblestone and some moss blocks, and I'm just going to try and breathe a little more life into this, because this side, I think feedback to this was brilliant. This side, I knew when I made it, there was something wrong with it. If you're ever having trouble with a build and you're not quite sure enough, just sleep on it. Sleep on it, come back the next day with a fresh brain, and you know you're going to be able to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can improve this. You know what? Just that small amount of detailing has helped enormously to make this feel more integrated. And also I added a few slabs up here just to make that ceiling feel a little less weird. And I think this looks pretty good, but there's actually one more thing I think we can do. I've gone away, I've come back with a bunch of candles, because I think a bunch of floating candles in here might be just what it needs. They won't really do anything for the light, but they will help with the ambience and help transition this a little bit further away from the industrial side of things and more towards the magical side of things. That has improved it a lot more. I feel a lot more comfortable handing this over to Tango. Even though he said he was very happy with it, I'm feeling a lot happier with it. It brings those two sides together when they were absolutely miles apart. This side, like I said, was absolutely fine. This one wasn't quite happy with it. Before we head back to the base, this seems like a great opportunity to let you know that the signed TCG sale is going to be ending very soon at the end of this month. So if you want to pre-order, you need to get them in soon, because once we're past the 31st of July, you will not be able to order one. Now, let's head back to the base, because I need to pop my skin on, because it is time to meet up with Bumbo and Scar.
Wow, that is quite a lot.
I want glasses.
Yeah,
I can't have glasses like yours because my eyes are too long.
So funny having Leon or Ada.
Imagine that is the real problem. My eyes are too long. Face. You can leave it right there, and it could be done.
I mean, it could be done. It could be done, really.
That looks pretty good. But I'm not judge. I'm not judge.
Whoa.
We're not finishing certain. It doesn't matter what side necessarily. It doesn't matter.
No, I was clearing out the eggs today. I loaded the dragon eggs. I was clearing them from the back of your base, and I was like, this is the most pointless activity I've ever done in my life.
You did. Oh, thank you. I was saying I'm trying to get these out. Nothing steadily like getting through them. There's just this long patch here there.
Right? Scar, but let's have to do.
Yeah, there it is. Let's go find it. He just said he was around. I bet he's in the over by the flower shop. I haven't seen it. It's the Oh, hey,
Yeah, it's here. I was placing bets that would come in and it'd just be but this was much better.
I had a little bit of tunes going over here.
I haven't seen it. This is the cookie shop. I'll be honest with you, I completely forgot that you were doing cookies.
Yeah. It was like a very unintegral part of the plan, but it's excellent that you constructed it.
This is a great looking
Very
shop.
integral part. Step right up. Free cookies. Get in there, guys. Grab one.
Yeah,
Are you hungry?
Lots of cookies.
Oh, enjoy.
Delicious.
I'm not
They're
hungry.
very delicious.
I'm not hungry.
Start doing your calisthenics.
I need to be
Yeah, Scar.
We'll see
Scar,
that.
buddy. I'm not hunger. It's making me hungrier.
What are they?
It's making me hungry.
What are they? They're chicken!
I don't know.
It's chicken!
No!
Buttercup cookies are actually chicken cookies. Yeah, no wonder they're making you sick.
This is not. It's uncooked.
Uncooked chicken cookies!
Chicken.
Why?
Well, first of all, it's delicious and you know it deep down inside. Also, I have poison to go with this.
You've also fed us the same stuff. That's not how like a poisoning works. You don't just poison everyone, okay? You're meant to poison someone specific.
Did you see the hot guy poster? Look how
It
neat
is
the
good.
building is.
Okay,
Really forget about the
when
poisons.
someone points out some constructive criticism, you don't just point at our poster and go, hey, look at that. Look at that.
It is a good poster though, isn't it? I mean, I've actually forgotten all the issues.
What is this gun based off of and why is it
I did my
So
thing. What
slow
have you guys
to
been up
reload.
to besides sending me this beautiful skin?
You see my decoration on the base.
Oh, brilliant! Seriously, if somebody put live, laugh, love in my base, I would probably quit Hermitcraft. We done. It's on the equivalent of snakes in mine. I couldn't do it. I would be gone, retired.
The thing is though, is that you almost did it too well.
I know,
Like,
it actually makes me
I'm starting to find myself wanting it. Like I kind of want more of it. Like I'm thinking of putting up my own little love in my base, you know.
Wait, we're doing it again. We're having a meeting, not in the meeting place. We
Okay,
built chairs.
Oh yeah,
We
we should
built that
probably
place
go.
for a reason.
I got this.
Let's go.
We got our
Let's go.
cookies.
We'll actually sit in them.
But first, you got to look at the live laugh love. I mean, look at that.
I mean that is spectacular.
You should see it at night. It's gorgeous. It lights up the room.
No.
It's gorgeous.
It pains me so much, but I also love it at the same time.
Guys, by the way, if somebody is infiltrated our camp and they've labeled my makeup toilet.
I've been scarred in this. Look at it. I'm gonna eat my
I
nose.
told you, this floor looked like it was like a bathroom floor.
I went in here and I was like,
No fucking way.
and I was
I
like,
tried to go to bed and I was like, I don't my knees, it was a real problem. It was the worst night's sleep I've ever had.
I don't quite understand how your tent is only big enough for a toilet.
Yeah, I don't know either. It's one of those. It's like a reverse TARDIS. It looks like a bit of it is on the inside.
So to summarize, right, you've made cookies that poison anyone who touches them. I've done a
She
little
wants more.
love. No,
Including
thank you. I'm good at the moment. I'm good. I'm full.
We've got more than enough for this.
I'm
Great.
ill, very ill.
Yeah, no, I'm loving it. I'm slowly dying, but I'm loving it.
Can't tell you.
So boorish.
Do you know what, Mumbo? You might have the best tent ever if we're eating raw chicken cookies.
Yeah, it's very popular. That's super popular. Super popular then, actually. You'll be thanking me later.
I'm thinking ahead, I was thinking ahead. Got a full night's sleep. Look at me.
Yep.
I covered it in a giant pot. Have you liquid it up so it's now as well?
No, so I'm just gonna. Well, no, it is ready to go. And then I'm just going to. You open the door, and then I just manually activate it.
Okay.
And nothing bad could possibly happen.
Yeah. We were streaming, I think, BCG and someone said, why don't you put like jelly hang in there, cat, like milk jelly.
Jelly's good.
Yeah.
I got a lot of requests for peace love and plants.
Peace love and plants.
That's always a good little saying as well. We can do that in terms of even out to like lines and stuff.
Tapestry background like it's
Yeah.
No!
Hot damn.
You stop!
Thank you. Hold on. Have you guys suddenly just come up with your dog mess?
No, you're around.
Oh, no. I see some quotes.
Did you say Swartz or?
calm down.
No.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
calm down. That's all.
Yes.
That's all.
I have any idea how long it took to make this hole and not just hit the wall. They said I can't stand things then. Because
Why did you need a disguise if your base is hidden? That just seems like strange extra steps. No, you just enjoy it.
This is not very
Can't
big
say that.
love with you fellas, I've got to say. I've learned the predator on Airbnb.
nobody's gonna wreck the crazy neighbors.
It needs a bit more lip love.
I think it is more actually. One on each side.
Well, we have to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank goodness there's fake plans.
Yeah.
It's not getting out of hand, though. I mean, look, you can just take it, we're all grown.
Are we? We're all adults.
Are you sure?
Look at this.
Are you what? Chicken.
Reading your chicken cookies and you guys are stuff like this.
Yeah, we don't get literally the bottom of the sniffer and you're talking about
You
us
just
being
call
adults.
us
You are though, are you not? What, are you not?
Send us like rainbow there and make the robots do the work.
Exactly. Yes, obviously. Yeah, too right.
They're all ready to go.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, they've already won. We launching.
Yeah, we're going to be, they're there. I think we're going to go meet and also cut.
I'm so nervous.
I'm
moving around more than I normally do. I'm moving around more than I normally do.
I have total faith.
Yeah. Why not? Continue, Scar.
Did you follow that with the button?
No, bot turn up. Like bot, robot. A robot turn up.
Oh, I
And
was
bring
like,
back
you said
save.
button or button. I was very confused.
What?
I think I get it.
Why, man? Sorry, I think you.
Someone's.
Are we ready?
I guess so.
Whoa!
I'm scared. I'm
Okay,
so scared. Are we?
Whatever you do not activate the robot until the door has hit the floor.
Yeah. That's
Because
fine. That's fine.
I'm like 99% sure it's going to be left, but it might not. Trip over the phone and it's not going to work. We're ready.
We are ready. Totally ready.
Get out of the pot. Go over to yours.
Yeah, you can't look.
Get out of there.
Get out of here. Stay out.
No. This is a street robot though.
Yeah, this is robot mode. Yeah.
Oh, no,
You have to hit one of these.
Yeah, I have to manually do this.
Should we reveal so we can get a good view of this?
Start off.
Open the door.
Do that. Again, but now I'm nervous. Now I've forgotten which one I have to click on.
Honestly,
Walk over this little
what is Leon trying to say in that
Oh,
I'm opening the door. I'm opening the door.
Oh!
Oh, there's his moving. Hold on.
That's a-
There we go.
that's
Level.
right.
I did my job. Oh no.
Yes, it's working.
This one.
It's going.
This is gonna catch.
It's
It's
going.
gonna catch. It's gonna catch. Ah! Yes.
Close.
How did you always miss that? I don't know why that didn't go. There it go, guys. It's amazing.
I hate grid. Scott, can you hit grid? No.
That's fun.
We couldn't be much more happy.
Test 1, 2, 3.
Texture pack system.
Hello. Test. Hear me.
Oops, I
This is
didn't
going
mean to do that. Oh well.
Worst. Test. Everyone reload at the same time.
Okay.
That's.
Test it. Okay.
Okay.
Hello.
Can we all hear each other?
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Oh my goodness.
All right.
Yeah, I can hear you. Oh my goodness.
Why is the robot stopped?
What?
Oh.
We reload.
Unload the chunks,
We
Aaron.
reload.
No!
Oh no.
No, make it work.
I can't. I don't have any. Does anyone have a lever or a torch or anything?
Oh!
Oh, it's broken.
Oh.
I'm just gonna ignore the flash. Two flashes, that's pretty good.
This is the
actually can't make a red, green, yellow anymore because I did something really stupid with my green herbs.
Guys, all the coach is doing is destroying the perimeter of the perimeter. That's literally all it's doing.
Look how it's walking as well. It's got like a little hop, skip, like a hop, skip, and jump. It's quite sweet.
Oh, here we go.
Right.
Oh, it's gonna hit. Let's go.
Here we go.
What is going? What? I'm so curious. Yeah, the captain has to go down
If
to the
this
ship.
works, right?
Yeah,
we go.
we're gonna see a decapitated goat in about 5 seconds.
Come on! Come on!
Yeah, I guess we just deal with this.
Yes!
Igniting.
It's ignited!
Oh,
Yeah.
Holy shit, I have 5 pages
Just the nose.
of handgun. How is that even possible?
I thought it was gonna fire at it or something.
What's up, my now? That's it.
What do you reckon? What do you reckon, boys? Reckon we won?
If the goat, I think if the goat can still walk all the way to the camp, it wins.
No, surely not. If this walks, I will send it on that. I'll make sure that they're like, I'll make sure
I like that the rocket launcher doesn't have a scope anymore.
Yes!
Oh, dodge.
We won! Definitely won. Yeah, we won.
I reckon mutual destruction on this one, boys.
Yeah, definitely. Oh. What was that? Whoa! They got fireworks! Guys, the Vatican, not the Vatican, we're the Vatican, the Vatican lies are moving! Yeah, that's pretty good. Let me do something about this.
Guys, this is gonna go for my
Now
base.
this is assuredly too much.
Let's go for my base.
I mean, it's not doing anything at this point in time.
Wait, hold on, yeah.
We're looking at GMG.
Sorry. Interactive.
Oh wait, it's dropping TNT! It's dropping TNT! Let's build up! What do we do? No, we build up!
The rocket launcher is definitely bigger than the riot gun. This makes no sense.
Oh, so far.
I'm gonna build up a pillar just in case.
I just want to be sure, guys, because it's right going straight for my base.
I think we
Yeah,
can get
just barely scraping by the
Wait,
a lot in
wait a
time.
second.
Whoa! You did got firework launchers!
Dog's firing them.
Still!
You're gonna find your own goat! The goat's going!
Go away.
I'm gonna stop it, guys. It's getting close to my base.
No.
This should do it! This should do it!
Yeah, I'm jamming.
Stop! Get out of here! No! No!
Oh, wow! Woo, just in time.
Oh, guys, I have had a heart attack here.
Wait, where's Red? Is there more than one?
Wait.
Ah, no! It's in now!
It's moving!
Jam it, jam it, jam it! Jam it, jam it, jam it!
Maybe I should. Oh!
Jam it, jam it,
Get
jam
out!
it!
Get out! Get out! Stop! Stop these things! Red, shoot them! No! There's too much range! There's too much range! They stopped it! I think the rocket propelled too much range.
I'm gonna keep going for a little while longer. Why not? Hit the 2-hour mark.
Stopped it.
This most graceful thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Sorry
We
about
put
that,
that
Captain.
inside of them.
Thought we'd hit you with a little surprise.
Yeah, well,
Holy sizzle.
yeah, I think that's a double win to us. We double won. And you best believe we're right, team.
There you go.
No.
I don't know how I dropped a cookie, but I did. How did you just release a cookie from my hand?
He bleeds buttercups.
Look at that. By the way, it like partially disintegrated as it was flying.
I was beat dead. I was pulling the slime blocks out, and little chunks were being left behind.
I was just placing oak planks trying to stop whatever I could.
It was taking the oak planks with it.
Buttercups.
What?
I think really I can hear this thing is now. You hear it?
You're gonna be going in, that's kind of scary.
You hear it? What do we do?
I can hear them actually.
Just
That's why. Stop! That's mine! That's my zipper!
Alright, that's one more point there. Say
Oh,
it,
what are
that's
you
it.
doing?
Ashley.
Oh, they don't like this shoe here as well. White shoe.
Well, this is it. I mean, look, there were issues with that.
We're getting rid of this right away.
There was a lot of stress. I've aged probably about 25 years through the process of that, to be honest with you guys. That was a lot.
It's
But
not so yeah, I think
Oh, look at this, there's a grand piano there. I doubt anyone has enough intelligence left to play it though.
And we hit him twice as hard back. Homes and motivational points.
I love mine. I feel like we could potentially make a bit of a better base. Is it possible to make a giant base?
Like a carnival.
Yeah, it's just magic trick.
That's how we can get them in. Just
Another idea. That was an idea.
it wasn't there.
Yeah, that was an idea that you could totalize.
I must admit, I had done it was on my heat one. It was on my heat one. I think it was really cool.
You could describe it as Moorish.
Yeah, extremely boring. But I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
Have an impressive HQ.
Yeah.
Research people with those sweet magic skills. And then big three.
Yeah. Well, that was potentially one of the most incredible things that's ever happened.
Yeah,
On the
there you
server,
are.
there's a lot of incredible things that happen, but I don't think I've ever seen robots go at each other and then a couple of flying butterflies separately. That was amazing. Like, oh, I've learned the electricals. Also, the main electricals and ice and entirely. Very useful.
I wonder if you can just rocket launcher that gate open.
That the electricals in a second. Like, I think I must have won by like 5 minutes.
Oh no.
But anyway, that is it for this episode. A friendly reminder that the site TCG card will be ending the end of the month, so if you want one, so thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you in the next episode. Hit below, now I know what that feels like. I know it's super impressive. Right? Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye!
That's where I got this. Alright, fine. doing it this way. Uh-oh. Alright. Close but no cigar. Ladies. Yeah, well. Alright, what have we got? Let's go get 6 rows. Let's go get 4 rows as well. For shotgun shells. Hell yeah. They sure can run, can they? Eight is way more slender. I know someone out there just rolled their eyes and said, duh. green herb. There's supposed to be a green herb that comes with this. Gunpowder. I wonder what this puzzle's all about. I mean, it is a reference to a puzzle in the original, but there were only just 2 swords there instead. Like, what's up with the knights in the story they're trying to tell? Does it have any sort of relation to the Salazar family? Or is it just there because they gotta fill the quota? of references to the original. Need to find the snake. Game's so quiet without the voice acting.
Well, as she's opening that door, make sure you get this yellow herb. Because again, we want to make sure we use our yellow herb items so we can gain more health.
This section.
Remember we need to find some more PGs. We are going to be able to level up our power level on our Chicago Super at least one more time. So it's good to pick up any treasures that are like easily gettable.
It's cool that Ramon only speaks through the things now, and someone already did a character study. Ramon is tiny
So for the Gala,
and just a prick, so he's always resorting to all sorts of other ways to make up for just how terrible he is.
Don't be nervous.
Like always being on a tall place, speaking through phones where he can't be interrupted. And you can still shoot the megaphone as a reference to one of the cutscenes in the original.
Once you're here, just walk to the left side here, away from the pass here. Pull out your sniper rifle. They're gonna shoot a spot.
Alright, I'm gonna finish this section here and then end it there.
Do damage.
Then I'll finish the rest of the castle next playthrough.
It'll be enough to kill him, but if not, this dog just attack. No flash grenade. No stun him. And just finish him off. There you go. Gotta do the puzzle, and then we're gonna see the full one. Wonderful with the Chicago won't be at all here as a disaster as the game cannon was. Because yeah, my aim with the game cannon, I mean it's still wonky, but it's still working on it. It kind of blows my mind that one word of all the is still really close.
Que los guerreros muertos se consaben.
cannon's it's so meaty, but it's so fun and satisfying. And so is the Chicago Street. I mean, they're both kind of games, but they're very enjoyable. I mean, I had so much fun, and I'm still having so much fun playing this game at all. They're just great fun. You have to hit that box back there because there's a snake in it, but if you want to really
Oh, I forgot about these two.
use our yellow herb heals 4 right now, so we can increase our harm. Adopt it.
Fuck.
Again, you can never go wrong with having more flash. I got this evil child. Got another large resource and have another flash grenade. Another one? Oh my god. This is gonna be sick, number 6. Not for everybody's favorite part, which is water hog. You know, I actually really like water hog. But as you can probably tell by now, I love all the chaotic parts of this game. It's always something different. You really never know what you're going to get. It makes it really fun.
Somos vivos. Que los vivos reciban tu vida. Que los muertos se consagren al Señor.
Should be able to use
It's very good at stunning people.
sniper a lot here.
You can shoot people in the if you want to. You can roll them down here, but there's so many Nagas down here that, I mean, I wouldn't really recommend having like a full shootout down here, especially since they're mounted to be open. You could just, you know, get them all to Naga and throw a flash grenade, but it's a lot easier to just come over here, put the wheel in. So flash grenade by your time, and just turn it 4 times. So it's really fast. Fire sniper right there. You can take down lots of people. And watch out for this guy right here. This guy, I did not see him there. I don't even know how they let me run past him. But yeah, you can just go through the town. So yeah, when you die to bigger, you should say with the armor. Make sure you put the wheel in first before you go fire. Put the wheel in. Don't go down. Make sure you go around here in the middle. It buys you a lot of time. Because you only need to do it 4 times. And remember, if you get hit here, just heal up. Right up here. Alright? You might get hit by the monster. Yeah, and right there, right there I got hit by the crossbow guys, which is fine. Again, we have a lot of healing damage. Remember to use the yellow herb, so we increase our health. What actually here?
Game loves giving boot knives.
And the gunpowder. And there's a large resource there too, but once we put action in there, we want to turn this first. So we can have 2 guys. Don't worry, they can't grab Ashley. By the time she's up there, she's totally trying to before they get there. So you can just shoot them out like this. Yeah. So if this is your first time watching, first of all, welcome. I hope you're having a good time. If you want to see something funny in my hand cannon guide, just skip to this part and you'll see that the aiming on it just definitely was, I was not used to it, plus it's just long. Well, you have a good laugh there, but here, yeah, the Chicago Street Break was a lot better. You know, short range, or not short range, you know, short range, hand cannon just, it's not even close. The hand cannon is shit.
Come on.
Mid range and long range, you know, Chicago Street definitely so good. I mean, it's not amazing long range, but at least it's a little bit more consistent. It's better than like shooting mid-range, long range with the hand cannon. all over the place. But yeah, right here, since we have Armored Ashley, just gotta protect the one she gets the wheel. Yeah, so no one. Take your time here. Protect yourself when they're actually like, if you get overwhelmed because you have to watch yourself, focus on keeping yourself alive, actual things. Yeah, take down everybody. Very quick down. So yeah, the Chicago Sweeper, I gotta give it a clap. Like, it's really good, okay? Like I said, the first time that I used it, I kind of slept on it because I was just like, I'm not a fan of the like constant shooting, but honestly, we're here to get catchy. Not here to judge a gun or like how to shoot. It's insanely good, and it's pretty satisfying in its own way. So yeah, you're in good hands. You're in the hand game. You just gotta keep saying that because I know a lot of people are divided on it. Yeah, very quick water hole. Not that in chapter 8.
Gotta go repair the body armor.
Now we're not going to say just yet, because that was a very easy waterfall. So we're still going to wait a little bit before that. Yeah. Let's end up chapter 7. Yeah. Making progress. So with the Chicago Sweeper, I mean, we're going to still pretty much go through. Now before we go on to this Gloria a las Plagas, I want to make sure you get this video here because it's a free 10k. Plus, pretty cool spot. I mean, there's 3 Beetles in the game. If you didn't know, there's one in chapter 4, one here, and then one after Krauser, so just wanted to share that with you in case you didn't know. We get the Emerald. All this stuff, and this is where we can buy. Please remember, this is where we can buy body armor. Body armor helps out so much. It literally is just game changing. That with the Chicago Sweeper, just you're gonna be protected very well. But yeah, once you buy that, remember buy as much large resources as you can, because we can never go wrong with some flashbangs. Since we have enough, we're gonna power up the Chicago Sweeper and power level 3. For this next part, you want to pull out your sniper rifle so we can skip the cutscene. You can immediately just start running. So just shoot him in the head. Now here you can take that down to run through it. I get hit right there and hit right
Should
there.
be
But
able
again,
to unload all my handgun ammo here.
And since we have so much money, we can just, tune it up at any time. So you want to blow up that barrel.
Too much of a waste of time to go get
Now,
those
this guy would
boxes.
try to run away, but
They're really not worth it.
the Chicago Sweeper just does so hard that it just won't like it. So here you can throw a flashbang. Get the lantern. Oh, I forgot. This guy grabbed me even when I threw the flashbang. I don't know if that's a bug or something, but regardless if that happens to you, just remember we have a lot of heals. Don't freak out. You make even more flashbangs. Now here, I should just do the flash grenade, but I was very greedy. If there's a wall down here, like there, just throw a flashbang. Don't even waste your time. But as you can see, the body armor, it literally takes so much damage for us that even with getting grabbed and then punched in the face, we're still at more than half health. And the body armor is still more than half health itself. And don't worry, before the next giant part, there's a merchant there. So we can tune it up, you'll be good. Plus right here, there's no enemies outside of this little block right now. They're like little bugs outside. Yeah, that part.
Holy shit.
Then put that one to the bottom, that one there, that one, even possibly. My friend actually got stuck at this part because he didn't know that you could flip the tablets over. So, I mean, I'm assuming if you watch this, you already need it, but yeah, if you haven't at all played this yet, you just watch this because apparently there's been some people that are watching Hey Games that haven't even played the game yet. Some people are watching the game like that. Yeah, for this guy, as you can see, the auto restrictor just doesn't let anybody
Go!
Yeah, hello Bridget. Always remember, tune up your arm. Always keep it pumped off, please. This is so insane how much the bond on it has. Just keep running straight, you can actually avoid those little guys. Here, I don't know why they do this thing so like that. They always do that. I don't really like to throw a grenade here. But I don't really throw this one. Yeah, we're walking through it, so... So up here, please pay attention here. You want to make sure this one here is full, okay?
Go!
Make sure this one is full. And you can take down these people as well. Actually, no, they do take them down. Not you want, yeah, please take them down. You don't want them coming up, you know?
Did I save?
Yeah, make sure that this door remains open. So over here, you can just hug this wall, line up your crosshair here, shoot there. You can blow that back up. Blow this back up. We'll turn mode on these things. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to say? The Chicago Sweeper is insane as well. Such a crazy weapon. Now here, I learned that you can actually throw a grenade in here. I messed up the first one like a boss, but it's okay. You can throw another one, just make sure you throw through the middle one. And there you go, you can start the boss fight. Now keep running here. Keep running. Now on the right here, there's going to be a grabber. Just hug the left side to avoid it. And you can stand over here. Let them come to you. Take your time. And yeah, once you take them down, hug this wall right here. Because we want to snipe the crossbow over here. Now don't do the same mistake I did, okay? So here I took them both down, so I don't get hit by the
I
rocks.
should have saved after repairing the armor,
Don't
right?
do that. Just wait for them to throw rocks and then go, because as you can see right here, I take some damage, but with the body armor and our health bar being that big, see you still have more than half health, but still, what I did there, I made my mistake. And I beat this game so many times, and I'm still making mistakes all the time. Please do not worry, you make mistakes with them there. So break this bag. And take this break out. And right here, don't make the same mistake as I do. I don't blow up the other bag. But it's like, whoops. Didn't do the cancer part. And as you can see, I almost took damage here. Don't make that same mistake as I do. Again, I've played this game so many times, I still make mistakes all the time. Oh, somebody in the comment section told me that you can crouch there and you won't get hit by the rocks because sometimes, for whatever reason, the rocks go through there. So thank you to the person that told me that in the comments. Again, it's just so crazy to me that, you know, there's just so many helpful people like in the comments and just so supportive, and see people in the comment section help out other people too.
Open for
That's what
traffic.
the game should always be about. You know, no drama, just a bunch of nerds just trying to have fun and play video games. I think the people now. And we're almost on the chapter. The game is so good. I cannot wait for. Hopefully, they release DLC for it because I've been enjoying this game so much. This DLC and the Elden Ring DLC, I'm so excited.
Fuck, I need to start over.
So yeah, that's another chapter.
I'll continue. tomorrow.
Yeah, right there I took a break. Remember, always take breaks. Give yourself some love, some family love. Drink some water. Remember, if you pause the game, the timer stops. So you can pause the game at any time. You don't have to wait for